the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Friday, October 29th. Friday mornings at this time, we travel Michigan with Dave Lorenz of Pierre, Michigan, talking about travel, tourism, and all sorts of fun things going on in our area and in our state. Dave, good morning. We find you in the Motor City.
I am in the Motor City. You can probably hear the really cool kind of jazzy music in the background. I'm at a new hotel, relatively new, called The Element. It's a Westin Marriott hotel, and it's a great example of one of those places where they reused a building more than 100 years old. It had been dilapidated. There were trees growing out of the windows, if you can imagine. But it had this beautiful, beautiful architecture, original styling for a jewelry store. So now they've turned it into this really classy hotel. I was shocked we could get in here, and they gave us state rate for our couple of meetings we had this last couple of days. So it's been fantastic. Meanwhile, we've been preparing for next week's Pure Michigan Governor's Conference on Tourism. So it's been a crazy busy week. And I'm heading in just a couple of minutes to Spring Lake for a speech with the Rotary Club. So another crazy day.
Yes, indeed. Talk about a little bit about that Governor's Conference on Tourism, David, because that will be an important thing, because as we get back to some semblance of normalcy after the COVID-19 outbreak of March 2020, tourism needs to once again be on the front foot.
Yeah, I was looking at some stats we just got just yesterday. In fact, I got some really important data from a firm that we use to better understand where we are, where we have been. And if you do that, of course, you have a better feel for where you can reasonably expect to go in the future, what tools to use to encourage people to travel safely, things like that. And looking at that data, which I should have thought about having right at hand, the industry, we know, took a huge hit this last couple of years. The travel and tourism industries, and there are many of the industries within the industry, had the hardest hit of any part of the economy because of, all the things that are very understandable, restaurants having to be closed and just going on and on and on. And so we know to enable the state of Michigan, and in fact, America and the rest of the world, to get the economy back in shape, the travel and tourism sector has to get back in shape. I think that about 15% of the economic loss in Michigan came from travel and tourism. We know that we lost thousands of restaurants, for instance, and that they're slowly starting to come back. So it's going to be a tough ride, continuing to be a tough ride the next couple of years. But as you know, Pure Michigan has a $30 million budget to work with this year. That's going to help. The local destinations, we don't mention this often enough, they invest much more than the state. The state, we promote on the aggregate, right? We promote the state as a place to come to, but all these local communities, they put in over $100 million at the destination marketing level, like at Holland's Convention Visitors Bureau. And then all these individual businesses and business groups also put in millions and millions of dollars. So we always need to recognize that we at the state level, we do our part. And we have a big voice because of the brand. And we need to continue to do our part, but so does the private sector and all these other entities that are in the chain. They are doing it. And at this conference, we'll talk about better ways to collaborate. We'll talk about insights on what we think are going to be important for the traveler, because trends are constantly changing, and the way people travel constantly change, and their patterns are impacted by things that happen to them. COVID happened to all of us, and it affected us dramatically. And now many of us are looking for things like wellness travel. Where can you go, not only to kind of feel better about yourself and about the environment and whatever, but maybe include some kind of wellness activity like yoga classes, kayak tours, whatever. So Michigan, I think, is well placed. well positioned for the future. And next week, we're going to make sure that we are and that everybody's on the same page.
A lot of excitement in Michigan this weekend because outside of, well, for example, Hope's got a game in Alma tomorrow afternoon, and Grand Valley State is home to Michigan Tech.
And there's a big wedding on Saturday.
Yeah, but
I'm going to go wedding. Can you believe it?
And how nice Maction decides that Central and Western will play on Tuesday night or Wednesday night next week. So it clears out the slate for a certain game in East Lansing.
Yeah. It's going to be a big game, and of course, East Lansing's going to be rocking. And I'm agnostic on these things most of the time. I want both teams to win almost every game. There's only one game that I want to have my maize and blue to win over the white and green. So I will just state it out the way it is. So we'll see how they go. And may the best team win, and then may the second team win every other after that.
Yeah, including from that game down in the Horseshoe for the Spartans and for the Big House for the Wolverines. But this weekend also is Halloween weekend. It's also, to a certain extent, Dave, end of corn maze season. Yeah. We got a few corn mazes around.
Yeah, we do. And not only corn mazes, but the fall color season is really wrapping up as well. So we have all these things happening at one time. So as people get out, you can still find many of these things to enjoy outdoors as well. There still is some great color in certain areas, kind of along that 94 corridor, for instance, and a little bit south. You'll find some great color, and make sure to go off the side roads. Maybe take the Sauk Trail 12, and you'll find some good color in areas like Marshall and such. But it's quickly going. And as you say, those corn mazes are going too. So get out to those farm markets. They're not too far away. You can get to some really good ones, So north or east or south, you'll find a lot to enjoy. And we do list them on Michigan.org. So just search for them. I might give you some good ideas for this weekend, especially if you don't like football and you want to do something else.
Yes, indeed. It'll be a fun weekend, but please be careful, especially on Sunday evening, but also Saturday evening as well. Yeah. Many communities are also having trick or treats during the extended weekend as well. As Tim Allen likes to say, your trip begins at Michigan.org, and as you like to say, Dave, like Pure Michigan on Facebook, and you'll be able to keep up with all that is going on in the travel community. Dave, I am going to take a week off. I am going to have Peg McNichol in the chair next Friday morning to chat with you or with Odie, and I will talk to you in a couple of weeks with another edition of Travel Michigan. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll make sure to tell Peg how the conference went next Friday morning. We'll talk to you when you're back as well.
Thank you very much, Dave Lorenz on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.